I'm Rob Pincus, the Executive Vice President of Second Amendment Organization and the Executive Director of Personal Defense Network. And right now, I'm doing a horrible job of pretending that I'm at the Gun Rights Policy Conference, talking to a large crowd in Orlando, Florida, because that's where we were supposed to be. It's September of 2020, and the fact is I am in Florida, but I'm at the classroom at Ancient City Shooting Range, a place where I would probably never be wearing a suit, but again, we're pretending this is the Gun Rights Policy Conference. The fact is, that's BS. Because of concerns over a pandemic, we are not having an in-person Gun Rights Policy Conference this year, and we are doing this virtually. So we're delivering our message to you through video. And I really do appreciate you watching. I appreciate you sharing this, watching all the videos from all the speakers, and making sure that they get shared as well. In fact, this year, I'm predicting that more people will see these speeches because the only way we have to see them is virtual. I want you to think about how you can make this a positive, because once again, it's BS to think that it's a failure because we weren't able to have the Gun Rights Policy Conference in person. Now, the questions about why we weren't able to have Gun Rights Policy Conference in person are closely related to the topic that I was asked to speak on today, along with some other people that were going to be on a panel with me. And we're talking about BS in the sense of Bloomberg and Soros, some of the biggest names and certainly some of the biggest bank accounts that are behind gun control. Now, this year, we're not having a real gun rights policy conference, and whether you believe that's a good idea or not, the fact is that the people who run convention centers, the people who handle travel and booking, the people who handle catering, the people who handle these types of events all across our country have been convinced that it's not a good idea, that there's not a safe way to do it. Governments, local, regional, state, obviously, and federal, have been put in a position where they don't want the liability, or they do want the control that puts them in a position of not allowing events like the Gun Rights Policy Conference take place, even in what has traditionally, for the last 20 or 30 years at least, been an incredibly gun-friendly state, Florida. And I don't think this has anything to do with guns. Let's be really clear about that. It's not the pandemic crisis keeping conventions from happening because the Gun Rights Policy Conference can't happen. This is affecting us across the country. It's affecting us across belief structures. It's affecting us as a society. And what's driving it is the media. What's driving it is social media. What's driving it is a narrative and an agenda that goes in the face of what many Americans are experiencing every day. And that's one of the most important reasons that it's BS. Because we could have found a way. We would have been responsible. We could have distanced. We could have used hand sanitizer. We could be wearing masks. We could be doing all that and find the best way possible to have the Gun Rights Policy Conference in person. But we're not. We weren't given the option. It just wasn't viable. It wasn't tenable this year. And what I want to make sure is that going into this election season, gun owners remember that it is absolutely 100% tenable, viable, that there is a solution, that there is a way forward out of the chaos we're in and out of the fear that we're in of losing our gun rights. Seeing massive gun restrictions and gun control come in the wake of this next election cycle from the likes of those supported by Bloomberg, Soros, and others who have big bank accounts, louder voices than other individuals who don't have those bank accounts and who want to take away our guns, or at least enact incredibly strict restrictions upon our right to keep and bear arms in violation and infringement of those rights being protected by the Second Amendment. And that's why it's so important that you do your work, not just to share these videos, because I'm going to get back to why I think this is going to be the biggest year ever, but not just to share these videos and share these messages from the speakers, but also to be inspired by them to go out and do the work yourself. One of the most important missions we have at Second Amendment Organization is to work at the grassroots level to inform people of how they can be better gun rights advocates. Because when the experiences that people are having in their everyday lives are different from what the anti-gun media or the left-leaning media or the gun controllers' paid advertisements or propaganda are telling them, they will refute those messages. They will stand up to that rhetoric. They will realize that their neighbors who go to work every day, who drop their kids off at school, who hang out with them at the coffee shop, who work with them, whether it's in the office, in the garage, out in the field, or in a cubicle setting, those co-workers that they have, those community members that they have, the parents of the other kids in their kids' school programs and sports programs are gun owners. We're all everyday people. And whether we're wearing a suit, or we're wearing a shop shirt, or we're wearing a t-shirt, or we wear a uniform and as a first responder or in the military, we are all Americans. And we are responsible. We are responsible gun owners, by and large, overwhelmingly, 99.9%. The message of Second Amendment organization, the message of the gun-owning community should be, look around you. We are everywhere. And we're even larger in number this year than we ever have been before. And we know that a lot of new people have come into the gun-owning community. And their experiences are going to be the same as what I'm preaching to you. The idea that regardless of what you hear, regardless of the money that gets spent, regardless of the rhetoric, regardless of what people say about gun safety, regardless of what people say about how gun owners are irresponsible, gun owners don't care, gun owners aren't doing anything to stop negative outcomes with guns, prove them wrong. Prove them wrong every single day. Carry responsibly, store your guns responsibly, stage your defensive firearms in your home, workplace, vehicle, and again on your body responsibly. Reckless open carry, confrontational open carry, unsecured guns with kids in the house, loaded guns in purses without holsters, that all needs to stop. Fearing mental health needs to stop. The idea that we can't talk about responsible gun ownership, the idea that we can't talk about the simple fact that if we have to take the car keys away from one of the older adults in our family, we might want to think about taking the guns away, that's an okay conversation to have. Not the government coming in and taking away those guns, but us sitting down with someone that we fear has perception or judgment issues, mental health issues that are causing them to maybe have issues controlling their rage, issues controlling suicidal impulses or tendencies. Those are times when we need to intervene. You have a friend who's a gun owner who doesn't lock his guns up, who keeps them loaded and out where the kids can get to them, his kids or neighbor kids or visiting kids. Don't care how responsible they are, don't care how lucky they've been. Talk to them about securing those guns in a smarter way. And when we set that example, when we're out there saying, yes, we're aware there are negative outcomes, right? This whole crowd that isn't in this room right now, those of you who are at home, when you realize the power you have to address that, yes, there are issues related to guns where they create problems in our society, it's not the gun that creates the problem. It's the opportunity for someone who isn't of sound mind, who wants to commit violence, who wants to commit acts of crimes, having access to those guns. And we are the ones who can control that. Not gun grabbers, not Bloomberg, not Soros, not Shannon Watts, not the Democratic National Convention, not the Democratic Party, not any elected official. It's us. It's American gun owners that have that power. So it's BS to play victim, honestly. It's BS to claim that we're being outspent and that's somehow hurting us. The only thing that's hurting us is our lack of willingness to grab the power and influence we have at the grassroots level. And I want you to do that. I want you to do it exactly right now because you can, right? If you were here in this room with me and there were 1,000 of us, 1,100 of us, 1,200, 1,500 of us in Florida right now, we would be excited, we would be high-fiving, we would be cheering, we would be taking selfies, we'd be talking about gun rights policy conference, and then we'd go home. And a lot of these messages that you're watching virtually on your tablet, on your smartphone, on your computer, on your screen, being streamed in your home or your office, wherever you are, you can click on the share button right now. You can copy and paste the URL link right now. You can go to social media and create a live watch party right now. Do it. Don't just do it for me. Don't just do it for this speech. Do it for every speech you hear, because this speech honestly should be shared with gun owners, I think. I'm talking to us. I'm talking to our community right now about the power we have and the fear we don't need to have. But there's going to be other messages that are important to share with people you know who aren't gun owners. And they're skeptical of who gun owners are. Maybe they need to hear from some of the people that are talking about responsibility, talking about mental health, talking about education, talking about training, talking about all the new gun owners that need to learn from us, the experienced, responsible American gun community. We don't cede that power, and that power can't be taken away from us. That's BS. Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting Second Amendment Foundation, and thank you to the Second Amendment Foundation and the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms for having me be part of the 2020 virtual Gun Rights Policy Conference.